and he'd probably still be right because he's Gibbs. So here we go, Chiefs. You tell me, what do you think? You also here with Endpoint? You were sold on their gameplay earlier?
Yeah, no, I'm also favoring Endpoint. The bigger reason is because as we alluded to in that interview with Relating Wave earlier, he said as long as our defense can hold up, they feel pretty good about it. And I think they're absolutely right. I think the defense is going to be the deciding factor in this series. And overall, I think Endpoint is the more sturdy team in that regard.
I mean, Virtuoso just hopped in front of Tox to pick up a tough save. So, Exotic, here he comes. A Relating Wave getting bullied by Tox, but it doesn't matter. The defense in the corners for Endpoint already on display, and Virtuoso trying to trip Tox up, and that's about as close to a scrum that I've ever seen in Rocket League. Exotic slips it through both defenders. I don't think they were seeing it.
Yeah, no, this one is Metzenaris. He's kind of thinking maybe I can get the boost, and Exotic comes in and blindsides him, not to mention the fact that boost never even spawns, while Relating Wave is thinking about pushing up field in case Virtuoso got that clear. So, little gap in the middle, he went right through it.
This is a matchup of two teams that I think a lot of fans would end up putting in that the rising category, both Solary and Endpoint. There's more and more expectations put on both of these squads, but they've had quite a tumultuous journey throughout all of the regionals. Carry in his shot just a little high. Relating Wave will be able to play it out. Tox in front, has Carrion, and Relating Wave gets in front of that quick. Exotic takes it around one, and that play ends up broken.
You can't say that Endpoint are surprised by this. They knew that Solary is a team that is going to press and press and press, and they are very likely going to be playing the counterattack approach in this series. Is if you continue to push as hard as Solary likes to do, you are far more likely to commit a decision-making error, double commit, or just go for a bad challenge and leave something open or a 2-on-1. So those are the real opportunities that Endpoint going to be looking for in this series.
And if they can't find it just through your typical textbook passing, well, they do have a lot going for them in the physical game. So if Solary's defense seems impenetrable, well, they might switch it up, and you always got to be on the lookout, not just for Virtuoso. Metzenaris and Relating Wave do get involved in the physical department much more often lately, but Endpoint clearly favor a different style of gameplay. Virtuoso getting in the way of Tox. Sometimes the bump is just too valuable to avoid. Nice little dunk by Virtuoso, but Carrion caught Relating Wave looking, and it's in.
Yeah, you said it. They caught Relating Wave here. He was thinking that Metz has got this one clean, and oh, he was still flipping when Carrion won that ball. He was really banking on the fact that Metz was going to get that touch forward. Relating Wave was full steam ahead.
And lost all the water and can't move any farther now. But, I mean, we've seen Endpoint kind of start games like this before and get blown out on third man a couple of times. See if they can stabilize either way. It's a great start for Solary. You take every mistake that Endpoint will give you. Nice little move by Tox. Exotic started really strong in the opening minute, and he might wrap back around on this one. Actually scoops it on the opposite side of Metzenaris. And I like how Exotic's been approaching the 50s here in the first game.
I don't know. Not to mention the beautiful irony as well, as we're sitting here thinking Solary the ones that, since they're going to be shoving so hard, might be prone to the decision-making errors, and it's Endpoint that have had a couple of awkward gas under the pressure, so it really does go both ways. And Endpoint kind of just needs something here to break up the monotony of fighting for the ball in the midfield line consistently.
Well, they actually do get Solary tied up in the corner. Mets wanted Relating Wave, and the passing is just not working for Endpoint right now. Despite having the ball for the last 20 or so seconds, they have nothing to show for it. Only 3 shots on net, none on this push. And Relating Wave's going to get a free shot out of that, but thanks, Carrion. Virtuoso gives the space to Relating Wave, but he had to really work to the right side to get there. Metzenaris gets one touch, but he's out of boost.
That was a couple of real nice, quick passes from Endpoint And again, Relating Wave, as he was so successful in their previous series, really able to fight it out in the corner for possession. But not the same luck here in game 1 versus Solary. And just with time remaining, unlikely that Endpoint finds anything here.
Tox wants Exotic again, and you're just playing for time at this point if you're Solary. But the defense ended up being the worst enemy of Endpoint. Relating Wave said it, and we see what happens when it's not working. The third man got blown out twice, and this one just gets rocked into the net.
That was actually quite a challenge from Carrion with that Metza dribble coming at him. I really thought he was going to get bumped off the ball, but was able to dodge the demo and get a strong touch and get the triple crown there with the quick beat over the last 2 defenders. Well done, Carrion.
I have to feel great, too, because yesterday Solary were really struggling to put together some consistent offense. Today, looking a lot better. It felt like Carrion was the only player that was playing with consistency. Both Tox and Exotic were struggling yesterday, but Exotic definitely more in that ball chasey 50 role. He really wants to be in the forefront of that offense, and I think it's worked out well for him in this first game.
I would have to agree. Strong start for Solary. Came out here and they absolutely gave Endpoint exactly what Endpoint was expecting. But the problem with that is it didn't really amount to much. You can see the fastball coming, but you still got to swing and hit it. And Endpoint, they get blown away here in game 1. They really did.
I would still, Endpoint, first game, whatever. They got to win in the bank, so maybe they were feeling a little relaxed coming in, and sometimes that's what you want, but I don't think it's what they needed against Solary in that first game. If they can start with an early lead, if you can make Solary sweat a little bit, we might see more of those errors that came out from Solary yesterday. I was still waiting for Tox to pre-jump something and double commit, because that's all I saw him do yesterday. But that didn't happen, and you see what happens when he doesn't do that. They win. So we'll see if Endpoint can take it game 2.
Yeah, you're really just looking for Endpoint to, I think, be a little less aggressive on their approaches to things in their own half, because it really felt like they were trying to do a little too much with how much pressure that Solary was able to apply there. So really got to take better care on your approaches to challenges, but at the same time, that's a dangerous double-edged sword there. You don't want to give too much space to Tox and Carrion.
Especially, we know obviously what Carrion can do, but when Tox is unlocked, he can be so tough to stop. But he hasn't had the pitch all to himself in a little bit, and we'll see Virtuoso take a nice approach on the 50. Playing it slow, but Exotic on that boot steal. Here's Methanaris. He actually gets it over 1. Here's the shot. No, Relating Wave had to play it away.
Yeah, it's a tough shot for Relating Wave. You can't be too disappointed in him missing it. He had to go at it with speed and get all the way back behind it. But the demo comes through, and Tox is one step too far forward, expecting the ball to go a different direction, but still able to maintain possession. Endpoint, I think, had a couple of chances there to maybe get something rolling, but Solary give themselves a little bit of extra time with that demo.
Good challenges in front of their box, Endpoint. And that's definitely key. Outside of the first minute, they can't get too lax. You get easy clears on defense, you start thinking, I can push up a little bit more, but that's exactly how Endpoint's defense got blown apart with that lackadaisical awareness at times, if you will, or just expectations not being met. Whichever way you swing for what was working for Solary. It's another save, though, and the defense looking a lot cleaner for Endpoint.
Virtuoso getting real creative there. He's going for a fake little cut into the ball and then ends up turning off, going for the demo. And Endpoint starting to string a couple of touches together, but it's hanging onto the ball. That's proving difficult for them at this point.
But Exotic struggling getting the ball back, and Endpoint can't find the net. Cox got in front of it. Still, Endpoint unable to stay out of the blue half for more than 5 to 7 seconds at a time. And Virtuoso can let that fall to him.
Virtuoso exercising that need for patience on defense. There's no need to rush that touch. He knew he had the time to catch the ball, and he made sure to get it out in a clean and controlled way, and gives themselves time to get set here on the defensive side for the counterattack, and Carrion If that ball is a centimeter lower, that's in, no question.
Oh, but Virtuoso, he knew he couldn't go up and get that save, so he just positioned his car right where he needed to on the goal line. He knew it was going to be off the crossbar, but he also knew that his best chance at the save was to try to play it right in front of it, and it fell right into his car.
Oh, man.
This is the defense I more expected out of, after Relating Waves interview. Like, yeah, we feel good as long as the defense is clean. Well, the defense is clean. Now they need some offense. With over half of the game played, very little shots on net on both sides.
Can you get this?
Relating Wave off the ceiling on the rebound. It's good for Metzenaris, and they get there first.
And that's what I love about Metza being the follow-through guy on this team more often than not. Virtuoso is in front, but Metza knows he can go and get this one, and he knows the right time to just jump over his teammate's shoulder because he's going to drill one if he does it. Great decision-making there to make sure to beat the defense and pick the right spot on top of it.
Oh, and a nice 50 as well from Metzenaris. This is going to put Endpoint in a
Yep.
prime position. Relating Wave can't find the net.
They gave him a gift. They ran into each other. The defense was shattered, and Carrion trying to get the cross-body shot ends up pushing it wide as well. Endpoint get away with one of their own on defense.
Was saying this all during the Triple Trouble Redemption match, in such a defensive match. You know, if you can't find those types of goals, it will come back to haunt you. Endpoint, the defense has been clean. It only takes one good push from Solary to wipe all of that good play away.
That's what we saw yesterday, Team Queso. It's just not the cleanest game one, but they kept the deficit to only one goal, and it allowed them to turn in that great 0-second goal and end up winning game one. So that one goal lead doesn't account to much when that ball is approaching the floor when you get under 0 seconds.
And it gets more tense if you're having to play defense as the leader in the game too. Just trying to make sure you don't double, you don't get stuck in front of the box. Tox, well, Carrion took a long time to get to this ball, but he's got time to hit the double. He couldn't. Metzenaris gets to the ball, but Carrion's right over him. And Endpoint, a really tough and tight situation on defense, but Relating Wave gets a hard clear, gets the second touch. And Virtuoso wants to keep it close to him. Does get the second 50, but he's out of boost here.
Oh, they all just ran.
Endpoint have to go.
Endpoint. I think Metza could have went, but I think he just didn't want to take the risk in case he got beat there and leave his teammate in a bad spot. Virtuoso now got to bail him out. Final 5 seconds. What does Solary have?
Relating Wave wins a massive ball in midfield. Metzenaris just has to secure it. Virtuoso has to kill it. But now they get one more chance. That's too far. That's GG in game one.
That's the only thing I think Solary could have done in that situation. There was no way to control that straight sideways touch from Endpoint, so I think the bomb up the pitch and hope it had enough on it to get there was the best option, but Endpoint playing the one deep man, able to cut it down, and the defense gets it done in that one. That's what, 7 saves for Endpoint, and a lot of them in some, not necessarily overly difficult, but some confined space to work with as they were right on top of each other.
Yeah, I mean, I'm teetering right here, with Endpoint. If you have to play defense like that, also I said game one, but it was game two. Remember, Cheese, when you said you couldn't remember what game it was and you were asking me? That's why you don't ask me. It was game two, all right? So it's tied up. The match is tied, and both teams playing for match advantage. But if Endpoint have to play that much defense again, I'm not confident Solary don't actually score.
You're worried. That crossbar down save by Virtuoso.
Close one.
It's you'll take them when they happen, but that is certainly not something that you can continue to expect to happen. They definitely gave Carrion the space there.
Look,
and they were very fortunate he did not squeeze that one under the bar.
Look at Cheese. How else is Virtuoso supposed to make the clips that aren't demos? He's trying to diversify his portfolio, man. He's got to come up with the crazy stuff. Yeah. Ooh, exotic. Oh, Carrion was just too far on the one side. If he was in a little bit of a better spot, Solary might have a goal, and Relating Wave, that's another tough shot. He's finding himself in all the really tight shot situations.
Well, that entire transition from Endpoint wasn't necessarily a controlled passing play. As another one pings off the bar, Exotic is going to make sure that this one gets under it. He's had enough, and Endpoint definitely caught up a little bit there. Look at that bump on Virtuoso from Exotic. Pulled him out of position. The man behind him couldn't read the bounce off the wall. And he's able to recover and just tap that one in.
Yeah, no cheeky saves this time, Virtuoso. Right off the kickoff, they get a favorable look, but that play, more times than not, dies in the corner. And it might be, we might flip Achieves with Solary holding on to a 1-goal lead, but we're not. We're not flipping. We're staying right side up. Relating wave picks up the goal quick.
Look at these two totally different cross-field touches. Virtuoso goes the length, Metzanorus goes the width, and Relating Wave puts it in the top left corner. That's a great 1-2-3.
Length, the width, and the volume to actually make that ticker go up. Carrion blocks his teammate's shot. Unfortunately, inertia was his worst enemy. And a nice little quick flick, but Tox is in position for it. No problem. A little dump to Metzanorus from Virtuoso that's barely saved off the side from Solary. And they're already feeling a little pressure from Endpoint, but they're not going to get a play. Relating Wave just dove into that player, and Met's going to give another ball to Virtuoso.
Man, Endpoint transition game is definitely taking a step up here as the series continues on. Mets trying to open up a couple of opportunities here, but I don't know if this one really has the legs. Tox and Carrion, though, they're not in really great control here. Virtuoso really didn't have a lot of real estate to shoot the ball. Ended up pushing it just outside that lower corner.
He got bumped into that. He not only got the boost on the spawn, but then Tox bumps Virtuoso up the wall. So he's like, oh, thanks, I can just launch right here. Look, I got the ball. Thanks, Tox. I mean, Fortune is definitely shining a light on Endpoint a little bit. And Carrion dims it just a little bit for Elite.
I think Virtuoso here on the goal line got a little tied up. Gets caught playing near post defense, and that's why it is sometimes problematic. That's why more often than not they teach you play defense from the back post or at least the middle of the net, because you get that strong challenge out of the corner, and all it takes is that one hard kick off the wall, and you're not going to catch up to it.
Yeah, those, especially when you're expecting at least a challenge or some sort of smaller touch that you'll be able to follow up, but when you're not in position for it, well, you're not in position. How about that? Tox off the ceiling, exotic, forces the 50, giving Carrion a chance, but that's right into Relating Wave.
Another transition. Oh, watch this.
Oh, he's got it. Oh, exotic is stuck. He's just stuck. He stayed there. Used a little bit of boost to stay. He's like, I see you coming. I can block another shot right here. Don't worry. It never came, thankfully for him. Wow, Virtuoso doing work. That's first man right now.
He's definitely... Oh, they got him, Metza!
It's open.
Oh, no. Virtuoso it was indeed very, very much virtuose.
Yeah,
I don't know.
virtuosity.
No. He was really good on offense, and Metza got bumped. The guy behind him just says, move, and Virtuoso goes, but I was playing so well. It's not my fault, man. I'm sorry.
Jeez, if I could reverse your vocal time, I would have done that for you, but
thank you.
It's okay. It's all right. I think I do it way more than you, so everyone gets one. Endpoint need more than one, though. They need two. Quick math. Exotic.
Very
catch
quick
that
math.
one off the side. Can't help yourself sometimes. But Virtuoso, another nice carry. He's looked pretty solid. Metzanorus is continuing to do that, where he's just going to go across the back wall and go for bumps.
So he got away with murder there. I mean, Relating Wave, again, not exactly a free shot, but about as close to a clean look as you could ask for with people still ready in the net. And
they might want someone else behind the ball, though, because he hasn't been able to connect on a lot of his shots.
Well, Relating Wave, a couple of those shots he really hasn't had much room to work with. And
True.
That one, that was probably his best chance so far, and all he had to do was squeeze it under that crossbar, but that one definitely got away a little bit. Nice flick. Metza wants the bump here on Tox and does not connect, gets faked out. Does this one still get in front? There's Virtuoso, it's off the wall. Metza's gonna go across, and that one's chipped away by Carrion. He was definitely looking for the pass back to Relating Wave to beat the defense, but Solary sniff it out. Exotic is gonna tip in the dagger, and good night, Endpoint here in game 3.
You're panicking like you're a Looney Tune, and that's what's going to happen. You get so many of those chances in front. That offensive opportunity Achieves from Endpoint was the most Endpoint attack that I have ever seen. Just chaos in front of the box. Misplays on the defense. They're getting bumped. They're getting chipped off the play, and then the ball's off the crossbar. Somehow the defender makes a crazy save because he got bumped by an Endpoint player back into the ball because he's trying to take him off the box. And it's absolute chaos. You can't track everything that's happening on an Endpoint offensive play.
But you got to give credit to Carrion. He did make that big key block to break him out of what was absolutely going to be the death blow. Endpoint, we're about to drop the hammer on him, and Carrion made that big save to get the clear, and it turned in all the insurance they could ever ask for here. And Virtuoso, try as he might, still going to be denied on the goal line. Jeez.
He did get that ball to Mets.
Okay.
That's the prettiest that you'll ever carry the ball on a Dominus. But
now, this one's just sad, though. I mean, this is a great shot.
Wait, why is it sad?
No question. Well, it's
a
sad
great play
because
by Virtuoso.
No, it's a great play. No. It's sad
okay.
because it doesn't amount to anything.
Oh, yes, that is very sad. That's
that's
crying.
the reason it's so
now.
sad, because it's like, oh, that's a great play, and all it took was, that small margin of error to go the other direction for Endpoint on a couple of those shots this game, and you're looking at overtime, maybe even a win.
Well, you're looking at a loss. And Endpoint.
Oh, and that
time's up.
definitely would have been a win.
Nope, over. No more. You get no kickoff. Imagine if you scored at 0 seconds and the game was like, hey, you get a kickoff. No. That's terrible. That's a terrible idea. We're never doing that. Solary win the game, and they take Endpoint to match point. Maybe a little more of that offense when Solary are a little bit better on defense. Endpoint, again, achieves like 10 shots on net for Solary, and not nearly as many saves this time. And that's exactly what I was fearing for Endpoint in this game.
Yeah, a couple of them probably could have been tipped out, but I think the real letdown in this game was definitely that Endpoint offense. I mean, look at the shots. They got, 4, 7, 9 for Endpoint. And yeah, 3 of them go in, but it easily could have been maybe 5, maybe even 6. If they just managed to squeeze a couple of those half chances. And how many seasons has it been where we say, RLCS X and this level of play is all about capitalizing the half chances. The teams that capitalize on those chances that aren't, easy gimmies or uncontested shots with one guy in the net, those are the ones that separate the really great teams from the good ones. And Endpoint, a couple of quality half chances, and they just couldn't quite turn them in, and ends up putting them in a tight spot here now.
But that's why I was saying maybe they need somebody else to take the shots, because Relating Wave has had almost every half chance for Endpoint, and he's not hitting them. So someone get Virtuoso or Mets on the assignment. Well, I guess they've had a couple too, haven't they? It's not all on
they all kind of pinged one off.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, Relating Wave. I'm sorry.
That's a rough game 3 to lose if you're Endpoint.
We'll see if they find brighter skies in game number 4. That's just going to be a chase for Relating Wave. A really tough spot for him to get that ball to Mets, but a couple of nice challenges for Endpoint on the defensive half will result in a Virtuoso miss. But Relating Wave's got it. Just got to be careful with how they manage this stay on defense. Don't want to get too, I won't say lax, but too panicky. Don't start pushing up a little too far. Let your teammates make the challenge happen. Just be ready for the follow-up, but don't push a little too quickly. Carrion on the flip reset. A slow dropper. And Tox will set another one up in front of the box. Mets uses all of his boost to get there, and he missed.
Exotic, I think Exotic believed Metza for too long, and that's why he was a little bit late to take that shot. If he would have just jumped immediately and played the ball, Endpoint's defense had no chance. Metza, uncharacteristic mistake, but also the benefit of playing at this level is you get the benefit of the doubt more often than not. And Metza and Virtuoso are going to switch places here. That's where the big demo on the goal line, or at least the bump out. And Virtuoso, big dunk in front.
I love the vision from Metza Norris on that play, because Carrion gets the mistouch, right? And so many times you'll see that player just go for the ball, okay? Try to force the next 50 in front of the box. No, Mets, as soon as he sees the miss, he sees the last defender in net, and he knows Virtuoso has nothing but net to shoot at if he gets him. And that's exactly what happened on that play. Good heads-up stuff from Metza Norris.
If there is one silver lining here in this game for Endpoint, we kind of ripped apart the offense here and there with the shot placement in that previous game. I really do think their transition game has definitely leveled up as that series went on. Game 1, it was hard to get out of that Endpoint half, and as this series has gone on, they've definitely done a much better job of controlling the ball moving forward and finding teammates to pass it to, as Virtuoso opens up a little bit of extra room, and now they can continue to fight for possession.
And I think that's exactly the player that's helped that transition, Virtuoso. More times than not, he's the guy in midfield, and he's the guy on the goal line, making a beautiful body slam save. Virtuoso, no boost, but he makes the 50. He might even have the ball here. He gets 2 50s with no boost, and now Metanaris on the tank. Air dribble won't go anywhere for him, but you really like the look of that one.
That was a great defensive save. Yes, Virtuoso gets the tough one, but Metza got the follow-up touch to take it away from any second chance from Solary. As Virtuoso, again, you're right. He's been an absolute machine. Look at him just push the center mass of his car right through the center of this ball. It literally shoved Exotic into the net. That is physics to a T.
There's only been a few times that drill was literally 1-to-1 ratio analogous to what a player did on the pitch, and that was one right there. But Virtuoso has gotten so, like, he keeps getting better and better at this, right? Like, his 50 game was something that he definitely put time in to work on, just to be a clinical first man for this Endpoint team. And you're seeing him downfield, making transitions happen, making tough 50s happen in any boost situation. He is integral to this team's success. He is their centerpiece.
And he should be. And he is to be commended for how much work he puts out on and off the pitch for this Endpoint roster. But it's not possible without Relating Wave and Metza. They pick up a lot of places on the pitch where Virtuoso can't be. Yeah, Virtuoso doesn't mess up too often. It's just,
but when he does,
they really do enable Virtuoso to be as successful as he is, because they do a lot of dirty work that you don't notice very often.
And that is totally fair. You know, all the praise I give to Virtuoso, definitely not to the detriment of either of his teammates. You know, this is a weak link game. You know, it's not all on one player.
It's the star player that always gives the credit to the people that open the gaps for him. That's really what Endpoint is.
True enough. And Endpoint, they've been really solid on the clears. I don't think Solary has gotten in, like, towards their box in the last, minute? There we go.
Oh.
They get a goal off a nice dunk. Exotic finally gets Solary up.
Surprise, surprise, this is time buying mode for Metza. Look at that fake challenge to pull out one, but Exotic is following so close behind that even though Metza outsmarts the first man, there's two immediately, and he does not have the time to rotate back around the ball. So big rush from Solary, catching Endpoint, trying to fall back, and now Endpoint need to be a little cautious here. Anything can happen.
Ooh, that shot was saved, maybe a little high, but the power that was behind that one could also match the mentality right now of Solary. We're going to go as hard front as possible to try to break through this Endpoint defense, but they got one more push to do so. Metanaris stops the attack for a second, but Carrion takes a leading position downfield, and nobody touches the ball on Solary. Two whiffs in a row. That's not how you win a game. Down by 1 with time running out. Endpoint force game 5.
Yeah, not the world's cleanest exit there from Solary in Game 4, but what can you do? It slips away from him. A couple of brilliant plays on offense for Endpoint, and again, the defense, Virtuoso. 4 saves, 4 shots, 2 goals, getting it done in all the right places, but some big supporting roles, of course, filled by Relating Wave and Metanaris. I think the big one that sticks out in my head from that game was when Virtuoso got that, like you said, that diving stop here. And look at Metza get the second chip away to take that away from Tox. Yeah. And that's what we're talking about. You notice Virtuoso and it makes you go, oh my gosh. But the moment right after that is when you go, that also was really important.
Yeah, you're definitely wiping sweat off the brow as soon as Metz connects on the touch. But for Solary achieves, this is not a good match at all. So many key mistouches. The whiffs at the end were sort of a good summary of how the last few games have gone for them. And while Solary won, yes, they won the game previously, and they put Endpoint on match point, it's those misses that keep coming up, and they keep Endpoint in the game.
You're absolutely right. This one's all about Solary. How do you put them away? Because they've got a pretty decent approach here and how they want to fight against Endpoint. They really are winning the vast amount of challenges, or at least contests for possession, and are doing a nice job trying to thwart a lot of Endpoint's opportunities. But as this series has gone on, Solary just doesn't have that same bite to its offense, and Endpoint taking more and more control on the pitch. Virtuoso is making everybody second guess themselves because he had no boost, but boy, did he make them believe that he did.
And he earned that belief. He earned the faith from Solary on that with how many 50s he's been winning and how many times he, didn't go for the fake. That's the beauty of consistency in a match. It gives you the openings to fake out the defenders in the spots they don't want to be faked out on. Exotic wants to just punch that ball away, and now he's got a full tank off the ceiling. Quick response from Relating Wave to get up there quickly, not giving any space to Solary.
I see it coming too. That's that foresight that you really need to stop a lot of those. That's a floater towards the top. Exotic thinks it's off the bar. Metza can't muscle it through Tox either. Solary making their own solid defensive stands.
Good save from Tox on what had to have been hard to read from his angle. It wasn't on his cam at the time, but Virtuoso plays it up again. Tox trying to find a gap in the Endpoint rotation, but Endpoint are just getting little touches in between these attempted passes or any attempt downfield from Solary. Exotic off the ceiling again. Oh, slipped through, but Virtuoso banged it off the post for a save. Relating Wave turns off ball cam, running towards Tox. Metzenaris can't slip it through, it's off the post. And another play for Carrion and Exotic to clear. They get it pushed, but it's easily saved by Relating Wave.
That's a great counterattack from Endpoint, but well defended by Solary again. And I feel like he kind of swapped places here in this series from game one, and now it's Endpoint really making Solary work to stop a couple of these touches, as Metza's got a much better angle and will keep things stuck here in the corner. And this is where Relating Wave was doing a lot of great work in the previous series.
Oh, quick transition. Exotic can't find the mark. That's probably the best look at the net Solary's had in the 3 shots that they've been able to put up in the last about 3 minutes now. Exotic picks up another one, trying to create a splash play opportunity on the air dribble. Tox keeps it going, but there's just nothing on the field for them to work with right now. It's all Endpoint. How long can they keep that up?
Relating Wave, gotta be careful. Tox just drops one straight down, and only went for the redirect. That's actually not a bad idea because the defender was definitely making it to that, but not enough room to work with to make it happen.
That's a couple of times Tox has been in front of the box on that. This time he gets it, slips right under Virtuoso for a Solary lead.
Tox, how do you win this challenge here at the top of the box? Jumped so early, and I think Virtuoso didn't think that Tox jumped. I think Virtuoso jumped because it looked like Tox was driving up and was going to try and pop that ball towards the top of the net, and that's why Virtuoso jumped so high.
Looks can be deceiving, and Solary might steal game 5 away from Endpoint, where it felt like they owned the pressure, they owned the ball. Well, Solary owned the scoreboard, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. But there's a minute 20 left for Endpoint to tie this one up. Nice little dunk down by Metzenaris. It doesn't really net Endpoint anything, but a little more time to watch Tox carry the ball. Carrion flips it over. Virtuoso, he's on the assignment here, and he gets the block coming off before Exotic's shot materializes. Metzenaris denied by Carrion, but here comes the transition. Tox having to make this save, but now the follow-up is crucial. Solary cannot stay in the orange half, and they just might. Here's Relating Wave, slips over one, and Tox, last man, he's gone. Virtuoso chucks it, and he ended up flubbing the shot.
Yeah, it's a tough one to execute properly to get the power on it because you're not sure the timing of exactly how it's going to land, but Relating Wave opens up a huge gap, and that one means Metza, he had pretty much as clean a look as you could ask for with 30 seconds, and he couldn't get all the way around it.
And Carrion kills it down again. Solary held a 1-goal lead for one of their wins. They certainly can do it for 20 more seconds. Virtuoso wants Metz, but Tox is all over him. Here's another chuck towards the backboard. Shot, no! Saved by Carrion, and downfield already is Tox. 10 seconds left. Relating Wave playing it downfield. Carrion blocks one. Virtuoso quickly gets there, but the wave dash can't help him. And off the corner we go. Metz rolls off the ceiling. It's challenged by Exotic. Virtuoso plays it up high again, right off the ceiling. Tox misses the ball. Metanoris takes it, and then Endpoint score with 0 seconds remaining. Overtime in Game 5.
Carrion makes a huge mistake here. Why would you turn forward? Oh no! Yes, you turn forward if Tox actually touches that ball, but what if he doesn't? Oh no!
Achieves, the more important thing to recognize here is how do Endpoint put that together? How do,
They don't
It's not
panic.
just here, all the time. Endpoint, whoever the Endpoint Twitter guy is, you could put a whole montage of 0-second goals just from Season X for Endpoint. Like, how many times have we seen them just clutch out at the last possible second to either keep themselves in the match or win it outright? They still have to hold up Solary here. Carrion, shot off the backboard. Virtuoso grabs it, but that double from Endpoint means a follow-up doesn't come. Metanoris grabs it again in front of the third, but Solary keep the ball locked. Tox's shot denied by Virtuoso. Another one comes, Exotic low, and Relating Wave Virtuoso combine their powers. Only for a brief respite. They're coming again. Tox just off the backboard. Virtuoso grabs it again. Carrion's got all day, and he kicks it hard. Relating Wave turn tail. Virtuoso another clear, but Exotic is there. Looking for Carrion on the backside. Every single Endpoint gap found. Exotic just missed it, and Relating Wave got there in time. Mets needs the follow-up, and he gets it. An incredible 1-minute stand from Endpoint. Transition back to the orange half.
That was such great offense from Solary, and Endpoint hanging on for dear life. The control on the ball, the passing across, and really trying to tie up defenders and have them not know where the next touch was coming from. But they get the job done, but it's not done enough. They're still on defense here. And Virtuoso just trying to find a gap to put the ball. Relating Wave will win the race.
Missed the double though. Metanoris does get in front of the 50, killing a clear. Relating Wave already Virtuoso up high, but can't win the touch against Carrion. Maybe a race for Exotic, but that's going to be Relating Wave's ball. Virtuoso waits, and here's Relating Wave, but it's right in front of Carrion. Metanoris is up, killing any power Tox would have had on the attempted clear. Good approach by Virtuoso to keep the ball locked in midfield, but he can't get back to it. Relating Wave needs this touch. He gets it.
That doesn't look like much from Relating Wave, but that was actually a ridiculous save. That ball got smashed over his head, and he was able to follow the ball with the camera switching from over his shoulder to behind his head and get the touch out to the corner. That was massive.
Back again. Solary revving their engines for another push. Carrion, no chance for him there. Endpoint's defense, rock solid. They need it here. Virtuoso picks up another save, staying behind the ball and gives a gimme to Metanoris. 10 saves for Endpoint. 7 of them have come from Virtuoso alone. Nice shot. Carrion got bumped, and Endpoint have done it. They move on in the regional.
Oh my goodness. What a clear. That's not a bad touch. But unfortunately for them, Relating Wave lands on the goal line and says goodbye, Carrion. And oh, that is such a tough one to lose if you're Solary. You say not a good series from him. I say it was pretty solid, but when Virtuoso, like you said, makes 7 saves, and Endpoint spends a pretty good chunk of that entire series on defense, having to fight off consistently what was an incredibly strong push. Relating Wave is a genius and understands exactly what his teammates are going to bring, because he said, if the defense holds, we win. And he's right.
The defense definitely held. But man, it's like a Herculean thread of tension that Endpoint are able to keep taut. I am simply impressed by that. And maybe Endpoint did get fortunate at times, but in between the fortune was a lot. It was just a ton of skill.
Brilliance.
And brilliance, ingenuity from Relating Wave, disruption from Virtuoso, and consistency from Metanoris. Endpoint win our last match of the day. We'll throw it back to Leaf and the guys to get you ready for next weekend.